Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Nerdy. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2021, and I'm the host of the show, Cara Santa Maria. We've got a really special show for you this week, but before we dive into it, I do want to thank those of you who continue to make Talk Nerdy possible week after week. Remember, Talk Nerdy is and will always be 100% free to download, and that's because many of you pledge your support each week so that those who can't afford to support the show can still listen for free. Let's give a shout out to some new supporters. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than usual. So my newest supporters include Rika Maharaj, Teppo Seder, Paul Wador, Bobby Cox, Daniel Glenn, Diana Hill, Daniel Haydock, Friedrich Venz, Marcus Hurler. I love this. The Great Dark Lord's Toilet Companion. You didn't think I'd be giving you a shout out at the top of the show, did you? Skip Sanders, Adam Hepburn, and Joanna Hiles. Thank you all so much for your support. All right, we've got a really exciting one this week because I had the opportunity to talk to some bright young minds. First up, I've got 16-year-old Michelle Hua. She won the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, otherwise known as ISEF, and she was recognized for her discovery of an artificial intelligence-based system used for human action recognition. So she used human silhouettes to design and implement a novel deep learning framework that outperforms similar state-of-the-art systems. Incredible. And then after Michelle, I also get to talk to Yunseo Choi. She won first place at the Regeneron Science Talent Search. And her project, she's a high school senior, actually just finished her senior year. In her project, she played theoretical matchmaker for an infinite number of things or people. So she studied matching algorithms that work for a finite number of couples and determined which important properties would still work for an infinite number of pairs. This matching theory has a bunch of real-life applications, including, for example, matching organ donors to recipients, assigning med school applicants to rotations, and, again, dating apps, of course. So some really, really fascinating science here. Both of these brilliant minds really interested in mathematics, also artificial intelligence and deep learning, so computer science. And I'm going to talk to them about how they came up with their topics and what the future holds. So without any further ado, let's jump right in with Michelle Hua. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to be chatting with you.
It's nice to be here too. Thank you.
Of course. So this is the big one. You won the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, the ISEF, and this year's George D. How do you pronounce it? The Yancopoulos Innovator Award? Yancopoulos Innovator Award. These are the big ones. And how long ago did this happen for you?
I think it was about a month ago, as of right now. That was when the award ceremony was.
Was it done online this year?
Yeah, all of it was online. So the judging with all the special award judges and the grand award judges was online. And the award ceremonies were both on YouTube.
Very cool. So this is a lot. You know, this has all happened within the last month. I can only imagine that although some of the processing has maybe begun to occur, much more so than when you're slapped with interviews the night of or the next day, that there's still a fair amount of processing that you are going through right now. Has it really sunk in yet?
I still feels like kind of like a blur. Even like right now, like even with the interviews, I'm like, oh my God, is this really me? Has this really happened?
It's big. It's really big. So, you're 16. What year? I guess school's out now, but what was this last year of school for you?
I was a 10th grader, so sophomore.
10th grader. Okay. And was this your first time competing in ISEF?
Yeah, this year's actually my first time, kind of getting into research and doing a research project and then competing at ISEF.
Wow. Okay. So that's like an extra punch. So not only did you win the big one, but you also, this is your first time to really dive into the scientific kind of process, the scientific method. And did you know kind of in your heart of hearts that science was where it's at for you? Or did this process sort of cement that for you?
I think ever since I was young, like I was into STEM and like science and computer science especially, and I've been like learning coding, and I've been taking online courses actually about like deep learning and AI throughout this like pandemic time since everything got shifted online, and that's how I decided to like take on this project and then compete in ISEF.
It's incredible. So I guess we should probably stop talking around it and start talking directly to it. Let's talk about your the project that you won with. So you discovered an artificial intelligence based algorithm that was used for human action recognition. So when we're talking about human action, we're actually talking about um like human silhouettes, like body motion. Tell me more about what you
Mm-hmm.
did.
Yeah, so my algorithm can basically recognize any human action. So that includes like running, jumping, sitting, and even doing jumping jacks. So my algorithm uses human silhouette boundaries actually. So it draws a line around the human in each of the action videos. And then through dilated point convolutions that I designed and implemented, my algorithm can recognize the pattern and features in action to recognize what category the action belongs to.
And so when you say category, what types of categories would generally be utilized? Or where could you see this application being utilized?
Yeah, so right now I have it in my app like different exercises for like different sports and just for general fitness and also some physical therapy exercises. But I think in the future it can definitely be used for public safety and for autonomous driving. So specifically for public safety, it can recognize like the dangerous actions of tripping or falling in senior homes, especially because those are especially dangerous if they aren't spotted and then treated immediately. And then for autonomous driving, action recognition can also be used to like recognize if pedestrians are going to walk across the street or if they're sitting on a bench and stuff in the surroundings and how humans are interacting there.
That's very cool. So I'd love to dig deep into, how you actually started the project, what kind of work led you to ask these specific questions. Let's just kind of start back at the beginning. You said that during the pandemic, you've been really dialing in on doing more coding, doing more computer science, and it sounds like computer vision work, and also learning a little bit more about these algorithms. When did you first sort of come up with the idea to say, I think I can apply a new methodology to this question?
Yeah, I was actually inspired to come up with this new method during the pandemic since um, everyone was in lockdown and kind of not able to go to public facilities and gyms to exercise. So I wanted to create a more accurate and more efficient algorithm to recognize action, which can be used in coaching and a lot of different real world applications. So ever since I started high school, so in at the end of eighth grade and the beginning of ninth grade, I started getting into AI and deep learning. And then I decided to use my knowledge there to come up with a deep learning algorithm to do action recognition.
That's very cool. And tell me a little bit more about how that actually works. I mean, you use some terminology that I think probably is pretty novel to most people listening to the show. I think many of us probably have kind of a surface level understanding of what an algorithm is, what artificial intelligence is, maybe even a little bit about this idea of deep learning. But you kind of you applied some pretty sophisticated math to what you were doing. So maybe you can dig a little deeper into that for us.
Yeah, so basically, I'll start from the beginning.
Sure.
So, in an action video that you can give my algorithm, it recognizes where the human is and kind of just draws an outline around the human. And these silhouettes are more robust and more accurate to be obtained from the video than other representations like the skeleton, which other action recognition algorithms use. So, through this like human outline or human silhouette, my algorithm conducts dilated point convolutions, which is something novel that I made. So typically in deep learning, we use 2D convolutions, which are just a method to like find patterns or like find features in a specific image or silhouette, like stacked silhouettes in my case. So with my dilated point convolution, it actually does what these convolutions do, except in 3D and on silhouettes.
So you're not just seeing like a flat 2D image of the silhouette where from one direction let's say you're doing a jumping jack, you look more like a star, but from the other direction, it's more edge on. You're able to kind of stack that so you see it from three or from all three different dimensions, the X, Y, and Z axis.
Yeah, so my silhouettes are stacked along time, so you can kind of see like the entire shape of like the opening and closing of a jumping jack. So it's like 3D in that sense.
Oh, interesting. And this is something that was partially inspired by your interest in deep learning and partially inspired by your interest in computer science, but also by your own physicality, right? Like you yourself are a rhythmic gymnast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so tell me,
during the
tell
pandemic,
people who are listening who probably don't even know what rhythmic gymnastics is, how that works.
Yeah. So I get this question is asked a lot because like artistic gymnastics is more popular in the United States. So basically rhythmic gymnastics is different from artistic gymnastics in the sense that we don't use like the bars and the beam. Like I've actually never used this before. In rhythmic gymnastics, we do routines that are more like dance oriented. And then we use apparatus such as the hoop, the ball, the rope, the clubs, and the ribbon. So I would guess that people have seen the ribbon before. It's pretty popular and it's kind of like a popular one for people to watch in rhythmic gymnastics.
It's kind of like on a stick with a long ribbon trailing behind.
Yeah, it's pretty unique to just this sport. So
yeah, and it's more like the floor exercises in artistic gymnastics, but with these apparatus. So it's for people who haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching rhythmic gymnastics. It's really, really beautiful. And I can imagine that sort of inspired you, or at least was on your mind while you were working on these tools.
Yeah, so actually during the pandemic, my rhythmic gymnastics team had to leave our gym and switch to online training. So I really wanted to create this algorithm to help with my teammates practice with rhythmic gymnastics with this action recognition and coaching app that I made.
Oh, so does it help you kind of improve your form and get it exactly where you want it to be?
Yeah, so my action recognition algorithm recognizes what action or what pose that someone's doing. And then through analyzing this pose and action, my app provides real-time feedback to users for all different types of exercises.
That's so cool. I can imagine, especially for those, the types of exercises where form is so important, like yoga, that this could be incredibly beneficial and helpful.
Yeah, and even I actually have some yoga poses and I also have some physical therapy exercises because that's also like a big thing that you want to make sure your form is right so you can like rapidly and safely recover from any injuries.
Yeah, not actually contribute to those injuries or injure yourself further. So I'm interested in the way that the process of putting together your science fair, I guess you would call it an experiment, putting together your science fair, I guess, piece, and sort of how are the categories split up? How did you choose which category you were supposed to be in? What was the competition like? All of this was new for you, and for many of the people listening, this is new to them. So maybe we can live it through your eyes a little bit as you were going through this journey.
Yeah, of course. So this year was virtual, so it was very different from. I would imagine it's very different from what it would be like if we went there in person. So yeah, this year, in the beginning, we chose categories. So I know there's a lot of different categories and you can only pick one category to compete in. So whichever one that you think most accurately describes your project. So mine specifically, I put mine in robotics and intelligent machines because one of the subcategories was machine learning and deep learning is a part of machine learning. So that's why I decided to participate in that category. And then afterwards, we made a 2-minute video explaining our project. We made presentation slides to demonstrate what we're doing and experiments and results that we did and concluded. And we also wrote an abstract and uploaded the abstract, a couple of forms, and this was all done online through Project Board. And I think it's actually still open right now. So if anyone wanted to go check it out, you can just go to Project Board and it should be on ISEF's website too. So all the projects are really interesting and definitely worth taking a look.
Yeah, I've got a little chart in front of me that I found that shows all the different categories. So there are basically first award winners from each of 21 categories, and each of those won $5,000 prizes. And that's things like behavioral and social sciences, animal sciences, biochemistry, biomedical and health sciences, earth and environmental. So kind of like, a taxonomy of all the different ways that these projects could fit. I assume that Regeneron or ISEF, which is the International Science and Engineering Fair, as a whole, kind of figured out how to slice and dice that. And you found that yours fit the best in robotics and intelligent machines. And I see you right here as the first award winner there. But then, of course, among all of that, they chose the top awards. And so your top award, and I'm scrolling all the way up to the top of this article where they talk about you, won first place, and you got that $75,000 George, once again, Yancopoulos.
Yancopoulos.
Yancopoulos, dang it, Innovator Award. So that was named for a higher up at Regeneron, and $75,000 to a 10th grader is definitely a lot of money because you don't have a mortgage. I assume you don't have a mortgage that you're paying yourself. So what's the plan? Is the plan to put it away for college? Do you have a college plan yet? Or are you still trying to work all that out?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to save it for college. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be like a cash prize or a scholarship for college. So either way, I think I would plan on saving it up.
Yeah. And so you are in where? Michigan? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, I'm in Michigan, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any ideas yet? I mean, 10th grade, you're probably a little more ahead of the curve than some of the other students in your class in terms of what you're thinking you want to do. It sounds like you've known for quite some time that STEM is where it's at for you.
Yeah.
But do you have any kind of goals in your heart of hearts for what you want to do when you graduate from high school?
Yeah, I definitely want to continue doing research, specifically in AI and deep learning, and applying it to different real world applications, because I think AI is such a big, like, hot topic right now, and there's so much that can be done. And I hope to be like a researcher who can find new applications and benefit the world through AI. And in terms of schooling, I want to major in probably computer science or something related to that.
From what you've gathered so far, and obviously you're just probably starting on this journey of really understanding which universities have the departments that look interesting to you, which researchers in those departments are people you might want to work with. But for some fields, it's pretty clear what we would call terminal degrees are, what you need to work towards to be able to do what you want to do. With AI, deep learning, computer science, it's an interesting field similar to engineering in that there are plenty of people working in Silicon Valley who did a bachelor's degree and then went straight into industry. And there are others who decided to, push through in academia, get a PhD, potentially teach and do their research that way. Do you know which side of that kind of continuum you think you might want to be on?
I'm not entirely 100% sure yet, but I actually want to get a PhD and continue working with students and working with professors to continue doing research at universities. So I think that's the plan for right now.
Yeah, so you've got that goal there to become Dr. Hua and to be able to do that computer science kind of across the board, because of course that does open up a lot of doors to you. And that means that industry is still open to you as well. I'm interested, do you plan to continue this project? Do you plan to start a new project? Do you plan to compete next year?
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on competing next year. I think I'm going to start a new project, but I definitely won't leave this project alone because I still have my app and there's a lot of applications to continue using my action recognition algorithm for. So I'm definitely planning on improving on that in my extra free time and starting a new project still related to computer science too.
Do you find that at your school, this is an area where you're getting support? Do you have professors teachers who kind of get what you're doing, or even if they don't fully get it, are supportive of it? And are there other students who have shown kind of a similar interest?
Yeah, definitely. So at my school, I go to Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. And we actually have a club called CK Research Club that supports us and encourages kids to do scientific research and then compete in all these different competitions throughout the year. So I definitely got a lot of support from the club presidents, the students there, and the teachers. The two teachers are chemistry teachers. So even though they might not know like all the terminology of my project, they definitely supported me and encouraged me throughout the process.
Right. And have a deep understanding of the scientific method and how to read journal articles and how to, think more critically about some of these
Yeah,
projects and these questions.
definitely.
Oh, that's so incredibly important. And I'm glad to hear that you have that kind of support from your peers and from your teachers because number one, I think it's necessary and important when we're embarking on a scientific process that there are failures that come in science. Sometimes we hit walls and we make mistakes or just things don't work the way we hope they would and we have to push through. And to have that kind of support can be really, really important. But even beyond that, I think that especially in this time of the pandemic, which most all of us can really empathize with this feeling of isolation and disconnection, to have social support and people who have similar interests and support you and promote your work and are proud of you when you do well and vice versa. It's just so fundamental to being able to kind of stay motivated and keep that ball rolling. I mean, what an exciting time for you. I am over the moon. I'm so proud. I'm so excited for you. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I can't wait to see what your project looks like next year. I can't wait to see, what college and beyond look like for you. So I guess I've got to ask you one final question here before we get to my closing two questions. I ask all my guests the same two questions at the end of the show. I don't know why I wouldn't ask you the same too. But I guess before we get to those, the other question that I have for you is what are your next steps right now? It's summertime. It's about a month out from ISEF. I assume that school is now done for the semester. You're looking forward to your 11th grade year. What does summer look like for a kid like you? What are you up to?
Yeah, so the most recent commitment that I have is actually my rhythmic gymnastics. I'm going
Mhm.
to the USA National Championships next Monday, so I'll be
Wait,
competing
what?
there.
What? No, so this is not just a hobby. You're like at the top of both games. That's incredible, girl.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Oh, very cool. So that's coming up in a week?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you excited? Are you nervous? How are you dealing with
Yeah,
this?
I'm kind of excited and nervous because I feel like this year it was incredibly hard because we didn't get that much time in the gym. We had to spend time at home. We worked out in a tent in a parking lot during the pandemic. So I think we've definitely gone a long way. And I think being able to qualify and compete in this national competition, I'm really excited for. And I'm really happy that I'm getting this opportunity.
Oh, it's incredible. So where's the competition?
It's in St. Louis, Missouri.
Very cool. Okay. So you've got to travel for it, but it's not too far. Hopefully it doesn't
Yeah.
mess with your sleep too much. Gosh, good luck. I don't hope you break a leg. I don't think you're supposed to say that with gymnastics. That's more of a stage thing. But good luck. That's so incredibly exciting. So what about once after next week when you can breathe a little bit more? What are your plans for the summer?
I'm actually planning on volunteering at a summer camp, and I have some gymnastics summer camps that I'm going to participate in. I'm
Mhm.
definitely planning on getting a head start on research and continuing with this project and maybe starting and brainstorming ideas for another computer science project.
Oh, very cool. That's so exciting. And I'm glad that you, again, have the support that you need. I'm glad that you've been able to kind of push through. I know it's been a really, really hard over a year now for so many people, especially young people who are used to having that social support of school and having to really adapt and switch to doing things online, doing things in a funny way. I can imagine that there was some strangeness about adapting to ISEF and doing it all online, which is in some ways probably really, really exciting and relieved some burdens, and in other ways might have been a little bit bittersweet, because the community that you're used to experiencing at ISEF wasn't there. But my hope for you is that you make it again next year, that you get to experience the parties and the craziness and all of the fun that also comes along with that hard work that you've been doing. So Michelle, I've got to ask you, every time I have a guest on the show, I ask them these two really big questions, and I want you to think about them from a kind of personal perspective, but one that is contextually relevant to whatever kind of headspace you're in right now. So we could be talking about, I'm going to ask you about the future, and we could be talking about your own personal journey. We could be talking about literally the future of the planet, the future of humanity, or even something bigger and more cosmic. So really, whatever feels relevant to you when you answer the question. So number one is, what is the thing that has been keeping you, 16-year-old you, up at night? The thing that you're really concerned about, maybe even a little bit, I don't know, pessimistic, cynical about. Just what are you really worried about when it comes to the future? And then on the flip side of that, so we end on a more positive note, what are you kind of genuinely optimistic about? What are you truly, authentically looking forward to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so something I'm pessimistic about is kind of like all this like inequality and hate towards groups of people. I know that we are currently like working together and standing together to fight against this like inequality or injustice. And I think something optimistic is I think that through all of our hard work and like I guess teamwork and collaboration, we can work together and make all of this better, either through like protesting and through getting more people to like know about all these different events and all these different perspectives that different groups of people have.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, Michelle, what insight. And I've got to say, I'm so excited to hear from a young woman in STEM who is already on this path, who is doing so much, but also already understanding, or at least experiencing the need to both, I don't know, like mentor, to show other young girls that there is a path forward and that this space is a space for them, even though you yourself are still in a stage clearly where you have incredible mentors. You're already seeing that representation
Mm-hmm.
matters, and you're already seeing how important it is to kind of take other young people under your wing. And I hope that you just continue that path and continue that journey. And, yeah, I have faith that the world has a lot to offer you. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Yunseo, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you are in South Korea right now. So you are literally across the globe from me. I'm calling you from Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, it's I know it's like 4 p.m. for you. It's like 8 a.m. for me right now.
And so is Korea home?
Yeah, so I lived in both the US and Korea so far. Right now, my family is in Korea, which is where I am. So yeah, I've actually been here because I've been sent back home for my boarding school last spring. I've been here for like over a year now.
Gotcha. And did you grow up in Korea, or did you grow up here in the US, or just kind of back and forth?
Yeah, back and forth. In Korea, I lived in Seoul all the time that I've been here. And then in the US, I lived in North Carolina a little bit when I was in elementary school. And then I went to middle school in New Jersey. And then for high school, I went to boarding school in New Hampshire. And so that's where I've been spending most of my time the past few years.
And so the reason that, you were invited today on the show is because you recently took home the first place prize in the Regeneron Society, or it's actually the STS, the Science Talent Search Award. And so this is different from ISEF. I had the kind of top prize winner from ISEF on the show as well, but you won the Regeneron Science Talent Search competition. Are you in a position, like, are you comfortable telling us like what these two things are and how they're different?
Yeah, sure. So the Regeneron Science Talent Search, like in the application process, first of all, it's only open for seniors. And also there is, I think, a more comprehensive application part to it. And so you have to write like a bunch of essays about like how your project went. You also have to get like 5 recommendations from all of your teachers and mentors, like all around. You have to write about like your extracurriculars. It's like a very like comprehensive application, in addition to like a paper that you submit. And then from there, they choose the 40 finalists. And so we have like this whole week of getting judged. And this is not only about your project, this is also about like your knowledge and your creativity in science in general. As opposed to, I think, in the Regeneron ISEF, although I've actually never been to ISEF, it's more project-based and there's no application component to it.
Yeah. And so you're down, or you had gotten down to 40 finalists, and of those 40 finalists, you were chosen to receive the top prize, first place, which also came with an award of $250,000. I mean, $250,000 to, I would assume, contribute your interest, your research, your education. I mean, I guess you can do whatever you want with it, but what is it that you want to do with that prize money? And after that, I guess we'll dig deep into the project and kind of your innovations.
Yeah, actually, I'm planning to defer my award for 4 more years, so that I can receive it after I'm done with my undergraduate years, which I think at that point I'll have a better understanding of where I want to use that money.
That's smart, actually. You're kind of like, okay, let's get some experience, let's figure out what it is we want to do, and then we'll know how far $250,000 really goes. Because even though, heck yeah, it's a lot of money in the world of science, depending on what your interests are and depending on the expenses of a lab, for example, it could not go as far as you would like.
I have no idea, honestly.
I love that. This is so great. Have you ever seen, you probably haven't, I'm going to bring up something really ridiculous right now, but there are these great cartoons. They're not cartoons. I don't know why I called them that. There are these great YouTube videos called Kid Snippets where they take littles, like teeny tiny kids, and they have funny conversations. And then these adult actors mouth over it, kind of like Drunk History. And it's really funny because there's some great ones where little kids are talking about money, like they're setting up a fake store and they're buying hot dog buns or something. And it's just the cutest thing to hear how out of touch they are with how much anything costs and what money really means. And I can imagine, I mean, working in the world of science, you see this all the time, even in the general public, like X billion dollars are being put towards Alzheimer's research, or, a $250,000 grant is being put towards whatever. And it's like, I have no idea what that buys. How many machines does that buy? How many reagents? How many assays? I don't know.
Yeah.
Science is expensive, right? But also there are ways to do it on the cheap. And so I think it's really smart that you have the insight to say, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to figure this out for a while, figure out what I want to do, and then maybe I can use that money in my career.
Yeah, that's a goal for now. We'll see what happens.
Love it. Okay, so first let's talk about your research, and then we can talk about what college looks like for you, because you're getting close. So because you're a senior, right? Or you just finished your senior year. You're no longer a senior.
Mm-hmm. I am a high school graduate now.
Congratulations. All right, so let's talk about this very cool algorithm where you were looking at data to try and come up with a better way to matchmake, or specifically a way to matchmake an infinite number, like an infinite n, so things, people, whatever, an infinite number of data points. Tell us a little bit more about this matching algorithm.
Yeah, I think actually saying it as algorithm is like slightly just for the general public, and it's a little misleading. I think the core of our research actually is about, so matching is applied in so many different ways in our lives. So for example, algorithms are like policies that are derived from the study of matching. It's used in matching, for example, students to schools and public school systems like New York City or Boston or Chicago, like all these big cities. It's also used to match doctors to residencies in the National Residency Matching Program, or the matching of U.S. military cadets to the branches of the military. And so because of these reasons, the matching in the finite matching market have been studied a lot. And so in particular, in my study, what I used is the marriage model. And of course, this is outdated in today's standards, but it's basically about matching men to women, and given their preferences, like how can we match them the most optimally so that everybody's like happy. So that's like the central problem of matching. And in particular, what I focused on was what happens if instead of having a finite number of men and a finite number of women, we have like an infinite number of them. And so basically what I studied was which classical result from the finite matching market carry over to the infinite matching market, or what structure breaks as we increase this number of agents.
Interesting. Okay, so first, I guess, help me understand why you were inspired, or what questions you had to answer when you said sort of like, okay, usually if we have all the parameters set, we know exactly how many, what the sample size is, and we want to match this sample to that sample. What changes, or why were you curious to see what would happen if that sample became like an infinite population?
Yeah, of course. So as like while reading these proofs of these results in like the finite case, they actually relied a lot on the fact, as they were proving these results, like on the fact that like the market itself was finite. And so like that made me wonder, like, why is that like relevant? Like, what breaks if we like bring this to an infinite market? And like the infinite market, like, yes, like technically in the real world, like anything is finite, but we can sort of think about this like in multiple ways. Like the theoretical aspect would be that we can identify results of the finite matching market that are the most robust and the most canonical to this kind of market structure. Like a more applied way to think about it, I suppose, is like looking at, for example, like online markets, like the market between like ads and computers, where we might have like this constant influx of new computers and ads coming into the market. We might not even have like a well-defined start to end period of time. As like for in contrast to, for example, like matching students to schools like before the start of the school year, this might be like a continually going process. And so yeah, like that's, I think, why infinite markets are so interesting.
Yeah. And so what did you find? What were some of the insights that you developed from really extending this on to an infinite market?
Yeah, so there are a lot of results in the finite matching market that study the effect of, for example, like what happens if like a new woman enters this marriage market, or like a new man enters this marriage market. A lot of those kinds of result like carry over to the infinite matching market. Like another example of that would be this is like an intuitive result, which is basically that if I work really hard and the men prefer me more than they used to before, then my outcome increases in terms of like my preferences. I can be matched to a partner that I want more. This result is really important in practice because it gives each individual the incentive to increase their rankings. Because like if you're told that even if I work hard and increase my rankings, my outcome's not going to change, or it's going to be worse, like it doesn't really give you incentives to work hard. And so like results like this, like it carries over from the finite matching market to the infinite matching market. But there's some other results like for example, one of the results says that a matching that is stable is good is a very good matching in under like certain constraints in the finite matching market. But it turns out that a stable matching, which is a matching in which like no agent like envies another matching, it turns out that in the infinite matching market, the like that kind of stable matching isn't like optimal, or isn't as good as it is in the finite matching market.
And are there examples in which the market actually is infinite? Like, does that better approximate reality in certain examples?
I think maybe the closest example would be like the online ad market, for example, where like new computers come in, new like ads come in, and like it's like a constantly changing market. But I think like the main motivation behind what I was studying was like theoretical aspect, which was basically to like identify which of the matching results are like the most canonical and like robust to like the structure of the market.
So do you see yourself sort of as you're continuing on in your education and starting to ask these really fundamental questions, to really dig deep into mathematical theory? Is that really the place where you want your head to be?
Yeah, actually, before this project, I was a math person. I mean, I still am, but most of my background was actually in math. I do a lot of math Olympiad. I represented the U.S. at the European Girls Math Olympiad this year. I was like one of the 4 people on the team to do that. And so, but yeah, before this project, I did not know anything about economics, or I didn't even know theoretical economics was like really like a discipline, like an active discipline. But I think like, yeah, like this project, it opened my eyes to how like mathematical structures lie in like all these different fields. And in particular, like my project, it actually didn't involve any like statistics or real numbers. It was like very well characterized by like model, like men 1, men 2, like all that. And so, yeah, I'm really interested. I really like proving results, like mathematically.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm excited to see how like this kind of model could apply to other disciplines that I didn't think of before.
Oh, interesting. So you're in a place right now where you want to kind of keep going with your model, the model that you've been developing and that you've been sort of iterating, and see how it can have these broad applications, as opposed to, for example, staying within a particular field and maybe developing other models that fit within that field.
Oh, actually, no, I think I was like talking more about. So I didn't think that there could be like these nice models that, for example, like didn't rely on statistics or like real numbers that lived in like a discipline like economics. I'm not sure if like this specific like marriage market would carry over to other like fields of study, but I'm interested to learn about like analogs of these models, I guess, like in.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So sort of these areas that are multidisciplinary, these areas where the kind of pure math that's utilized actually has potential real world implications, or at least implications for other fields that can utilize some of that modeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. And so, what is it that you think you'll probably study in school? I mean, as an undergrad, are there really specialized mathematical programs, or do you generally study like pure math? And then as you advance into graduate school, you sort of specialize?
Yeah, actually, I have no idea what I think I want to.
I love that.
I know. I think
This makes me so happy.
Well, no, I want to pursue a career in research and in academia, but I have no idea what field I want to focus on. During my undergraduate years, that's like one of my biggest goals to figure it out. I am pretty sure that I'm going to major in pure math, but I'm not sure if I want to go to graduate school or pursue like pure math like from there. And so, yeah, that's like one of my biggest unanswered questions going into college that I hopefully want to answer by taking all these different classes.
This makes me so happy to hear that this is your approach. I can't tell you how often I've personally been frustrated when I hear that students will kind of have a very strong idea of what they want out of their future selves and will be so dogmatic about that approach that oftentimes when doors are open to us, when new discoveries are in front of us, we might ignore them or we might overlook them simply because we've been so rigid about our path. And to hear you almost turn that on its ear and say, like, I don't really know. I want to just like have all these experiences and find out. I want to try things and that's how I'll find out. It's really refreshing. I hope that that's. Do you find that that's typical? Are your friends thinking about things the same way, or is this a pretty unique perspective for someone who's sort of your age and just finishing high school?
Actually, I think most of my friends are also like vaguely they know what they want to do. Like, oh, they want to do research, they want to go into industry, but I haven't seen that many people actually like fixating on what they want to do. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the people around me.
No, I think it's great. I think we might have a stereotype in our minds that sort of high achieving, STEM oriented individuals who compete a lot, like you were mentioning in math Olympiads or in these other programs, who are doing a lot of work over the summer, who are kind of spearheading their own research, that they're sort of like, I have a life plan. I have to stick to my life plan. If I go off the plan, I'm going to freak out. But the truth of the matter is that you're open, you're flexible, you're excited to see what life brings to you and to adapt your interests and your skill sets to opportunities as they arise. And I mean, if you were to ask me what is one piece of advice, that is the advice I would give you. Like, you already know the advice I would give you. And that's really, really cool to hear. It's just, I got to say, it's really refreshing.
Oh, thank you.
For sure. So do you know where you're going to go? Are you going to take a year off? Like, where are you at right now? Having just finished school, having just won this award, it must be a lot to process.
Yeah, actually, I knew since like last year that I would be going to Harvard. And so I'm
Mhm.
really excited about that.
Very cool. Very cool. And do you have any sort of like classes that you've been looking at that you're really excited to take? Any professors you're really excited to study with? Like, what about this Harvard journey right now, at least, having not gone there yet and having not started the experience, is kind of most attractive to you?
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't planning on applying to Harvard, at least not early.
Hmm.
Um, like last year, I think.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
last year, like last summer, was when I worked on this project with with my mentor from Harvard. He works in like the Department of Economics and in the business school. And honestly, like the people that I met at that like lab was so fascinating. The professor is amazing. His name is Scott Commoners. Yeah, and like yeah, I'm really excited to continue working with him. I'm working on like a different matching project right now, which basically has to do about like when we're matching, for example, like students to schools, like under what circumstances like can students, you know, like distort their like preferences, report false preferences to distort the outcome to their favor. Like I'm working on like a new project with him, and so I'm really excited to continue working on that. And yeah, honestly, take math classes, but also take like a lot of other science classes. I think like the STS competition has really opened my eyes to that. Like looking at other finalist projects, like talking to them about like all these different sciences, going to all these. They had a lot of um, like virtual like field trips planned for us and had a lot of speakers
Hmm.
come in, and so like that really opened my eyes to like a bunch of different science fields that I did not, you know, like consider as something I could potentially explore before. And so yeah, I'm really excited to just like take classes, just like any classes.
Absolutely. And I can imagine that, the world that we live in today is more multidisciplinary, more connected than at almost any other time in our scientific past. And that, being fundamentally interested in mathematics, being fundamentally interested in computer science, for example, that these are, platforms, maybe that's not the right word, tools, almost worldviews, approaches that will serve things as disparate as, for example, like you said, economics or neuroeconomics, human decision making, computer vision, even like things like computational chemistry. Like my own field is was neuroscience and is now existential psychology, and I can see, translation there. I'm actually about to face a MASH program later this year when I apply to internship. This is very relevant to me. So your new research was like, interesting. I don't want to game the system. I want to be matched with the right program, but we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, this idea that there's so many multidisciplinary opportunities in front of you, and that I really do think the future of science is that it won't be able to be so segmented. It won't be able to be in the pillars that it historically was. It's very cool that you're excited to take classes from other fields and see how they can be integrated, and maybe eventually kind of forge your own path and develop your own approach to answering some of these questions and solving some of these problems.
Yeah, honestly, that sounds like the dream.
I love it. And you're living the dream right now. I have to say, like, absolutely, first and foremost, congratulations. This is such a big deal. And I hope that you have really taken the time to celebrate, to be proud, to internalize this and to say, like, I earned this. I worked hard at this. And it's something that I'm really proud of myself for. And also that I'm grateful that you took the time to share with us today to motivate anybody who's listening right now and to get them excited, not just about the future of science, but about the future of like the kids. The kids, I'm sure you hate that. The people, the people that will be serving as our future scientists and our current scientists, actually. I've got to ask you, actually, Yunseo, before we go, I always ask my guests the same two questions, and I'm interested in your answer to these two questions as well. And they're kind of big picture questions, a little bit more global. So, and a little bit, requiring some kind of introspection. So I'm wondering if you would be willing to play along and answer some questions that I have posed for you.
Yeah, I'll try.
Awesome. All right. So I want you to think about the future. And you can think about the future in whatever context is relevant to you. It can be very, very personal, having to do with, the Science Talent Search, or having to do with the fact that you just finished high school and you're moving on to college. Or it can be a little bit larger, community, it can be social, it can have to do with the planet, or even something, beyond global, something more cosmic. And I want you to tell me the first thing is, what is the thing that's keeping you up at night the most? What is the thing you're most concerned about, maybe even a little bit pessimistic about or cynical about? What are you truly, what are you staying up at night worrying about? But then on the flip side of that, so we end on a bit of a positive note, what are you genuinely hopeful for, optimistic about? What are you really looking forward to?
Honestly, I think what keeps me up at night is just like realizing how little I know about anything. And my high school math teacher would always tell me, if I give you like any recent math paper that has been written in like any past like 50 years, like the chances are you'll probably get lost before you turn like the second page. And like,
Uh-huh.
like that's like so true. Like even though like I've been recognized like at the STS, and like I get this like amazing chance to talk to you and to like the audience of this podcast. Like it, I don't know, it's just like, of course, like because I'm still in high school or I'm like just moving into college, but I think like that's what keeps me up, just like realizing how little I know, realizing how little I can do like as of now. But yeah, I think I'm hopeful just to like approach a lot of things just like with like a learner's mindset, especially like going into like a completely new environment next year. um and so, yeah, I'm just really excited to see like how much more I can, grow and learn in these next 4 years. Like looking at like the short term future, because I think when I was first entering high school, I was also very nervous, like going into a boarding school for the first time, like 4 or 5 hours away from where I used to live in New Jersey at that time. Um, and so, yeah, like I definitely grew, and went through so many trials and errors in ways that I did not expect. And so, yeah, I'm hopeful for what the next 4 years can bring for me.
Yeah, like there'll be not just a lot of kind of academic growth, but a lot of personal growth. The good news is, as you mentioned, you sort of have had a trial run. And so maybe some of those things that would have been harder, leaving home for the first time, for example. I mean, listen, you've lived halfway across the world multiple times over. You've lived on your own in a boarding school, and now you get to take that on as an adult, and sort of face some of those challenges, some of the failures that come along with science. But I love what you mentioned and the insight that you just kind of offered us. And I have to say, like, the inspiration that you'd offered us about maintaining that growth mindset, about being open, about sort of being aware of what you don't know and being hungry to fill those gaps and to answer the unknown questions, which often just beget more questions. It's something that I worry that many people lose in life, that hunger and that comfort in the unknown, that curiosity and that ability to say, I don't know the answer, so let's find out together. It's really inspiring to hear somebody talk about that without any sort of guilt or shame or negativity, and to wear it as a badge of honor and as a skill set, as a point of pride. I think that we could all learn something from you, especially here in this country, especially under the political climate that we found ourselves in. So it's just really inspiring to hear you say those words.
Aw, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, like one of the most important things, at least for me, like when I'm learning something new, or like, like doing like a new project, like you'll really find a lot of times where I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, explain this to me.
Yeah. That's how we learn, right? Is to say, I don't know. And then each time we know a little bit more. And somehow we have it when we're young. We get really scared of it as we get older and move through middle school and high school. And sometimes we never get it back. So I just hope that you never, never lose that about yourself. I think it's going to be one of your most important skills as a scientist. And I hope that you can help influence the next generation and the generation after that to remember that it's important to be able to say, I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, this was so much fun. I learned an awful lot from you. I know it was short and sweet, but I know you're also going to do great things, and I'll probably have you back on the show in the future. And I got to say, everybody listening, thank you for coming back week after week. I'm really looking forward to the next time we all get together to talk nerdy.